Welcome. This is LeoSyron from LeoSyron Games. And this is the Halloween special. Hey guys, since Halloween is just a few days away, I thought I'd make a special for you. Well, I have played like no horror game from beginning to end in my life, but I thought it might be interesting to talk about stuff that scared me in non-horror games. Most of the things in my list come from Mario and Zelda. Like Mario and Zelda, two children franchises. But they do have some scary things, and I think that most of you will agree with me after you see what I have to say. So, in Mario 64, firstly we've got that eel in Jolly Roger Bay. Now, that eel looks like she's going to eat your soul with those lifeless eyes. When you look at that, it's stuck on the wall in the beginning, so you think, oh, what's that? I'll get a little closer, and then it gets out of the wall and tries to snap your soul and your flesh. And it's quite scary because for anything that happens in the water in a game where your character is not a water-based character, you feel vulnerable. And you are vulnerable near that giant water snake with those sharp teeth and the lifeless eyes. It's scary. It's scary, man. And Mario 64 has other two things that scared me. One of them is those books in the haunted mansion. They come out of the bookshelves and they try to snap you with but they weren't very scary. What was really scary was that freaking piano of death. When you get close to it, it looks like a normal piano. And it's even got a red coin behind it that you have to grab in order to get a star. So you, oh, alright, I have to go there. I will walk casually to that point. That's when that thing gains life and tries to munch your whole body and eat you and send you to the underworld. And it's a huge thing who's got teeth and attacks you by surprise. And even when it's not a surprise for you anymore, it's still freaking menacing. It's giant. Alright. Next, let's talk Donkey Kong Country. The first one was those clay crocodiles in the stop and go level. You couldn't hit them, you couldn't do any sort of damage to them. All you could do was stop their movements by hitting the stop barrels. And that gave you a sense of vulnerability, which is one important aspect of any horror media. You have to make the user feel vulnerable. That's important to induce the feeling of fear and horror. And by giving the player an enemy he cannot directly hurt, but that can hurt the player, you are making him vulnerable. And that's exactly how I felt, especially as a kid playing that level. And they were so eerie, like they were made of mud or clay or whatever, and they were those balls, and you get close to them, oh, what's this? Then and suddenly it's a crocodile with red, dead eyes, with thirst for blood, running from side to side in search of your soul. But I digress. Well, I was more scared of another thing in the Donkey Kong Country series. In Donkey Kong Country 2, we had the haunted chase. Oh, the haunted chase. You are in a kart level. I love those levels, especially in DKC2, but in the haunted world, it's not a good vibe you get. No, you are fleeing from ghosts. You're fighting for your life, for your soul. And whatever mistake you made, oh man, do not dare to touch one of the red line barrels. No, or else you're doomed. You have to touch every green barrel, every green plus barrel, or else you cannot run faster. You cannot really boost your way away from the ghosts. You have to rely on your few chances to gain time advantage against them by touching the barrels. Oh, and there you miss one of those barrels and you're done for. Well, before we jump into the Zelda train, I must say that the first time I fought Andross in Star Fox 64, I was scared to hell. I was trembling, I remember I was trembling. I was 6 or 7 years old and I was playing alone and I didn't know how the boss was since there was no internet. You're entering the heart of the planet. And when you get there, he laughs. He laughs at you like, I killed your father, now I'm going to kill you, kid. I felt like I was at his mercy. To be honest, the thing that gets you most amped up for fear is not the fight with Andross himself, is that you're going down that tunnel. And he keeps telling you how he's going to mess your shit up, just like he messed with your father. And you're like, okay, everything's gonna be alright.
Die just like your father.
Okay, I can deal with this, but the worst thing of all for me is not what Andross has to say. For me, the worst part is the sound the hatches make when they open. Oh, damn. And now to the Zelda train. Big Octos in The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I was afraid of them. When they make the twister and you get trapped in it and you're slowly spiraling to your untimely death in the clutches of that horrific monster. That's menacing, man. And worst of all, you're just sailing quietly through the ocean when suddenly you find yourself in that life or death situation. And I have to admit it, until 2 days ago, I didn't know that you could defeat the big Octos with boomerangs. No. I always tried to beat them with the cannon, with the bombs. And damn, that thing is slow to shoot and slow to aim. When I was a kid, I was afraid of Darknuts. Why? Because they were just that lifeless, inert armor sitting down on a little chair. And then suddenly, they became a destructive force to be reckoned with. It's not that the fight was very difficult or anything. The fact that Nabooru gets turned into a Darknut by Kotaki and Kon was also something that made me feel like, oh, those things can trap souls inside them. It used to make me feel really weird. Next, Morpha, the boss from the infamous Water Temple. Now, when you get to Morpha, you already had your share of shit. Cause the Water Temple was the hardest temple in Ocarina of Time. But when you get to Morpha, you think, wow, this is finally getting over, right? Yes, but it won't be easy because that thing can grab you and break your shit, break your ribs, and swing you around like it's going to make a hentai out of you. And well, you haven't seen enough hentai to know where this is going to, my friend, because that thing knows its shit. Okay? Oh, it looks like just a little brain floating in the water, but get too close and bang! You're at his mercy. But okay, I got past Morpha. There's nothing else that will scare me in this game, right? Wrong! because you still have to go through the Shadow Temple. And the Shadow Temple makes a great effort in reminding you that you are a measly mere mortal and that death will come to you someday. It's got guillotines, it's got a boat to take you to the other world, and it's got all sorts of ghosts and menacing enemies, including the Wallmasters. Why? Why do we have to have a hand that comes out of the city and grabs you by the head and... Yes. I was a little afraid of Floor Masters too because of their similarity with the Wall Masters. Especially the invisible Floor Masters in the Spirit Temple. But there's one more thing in the Shadow Temple that scared me, and it was Bongo Bongo himself, the boss. He's drumming that giant bongo, and the worst thing for me is that he came with his big eye towards you. Like... you're aiming your bow and arrow. Oh, that thing's coming to me. Damn, son. I was a little afraid of the Redeads in Ocarina of Time. They were just those fellas who stood around. Okay, the sound effect when you got near them wasn't very scary. Okay, but the worst thing was the feeling you got of not getting to hit them before they hit you. You know you're going to get paralyzed when you get near them, but you don't know exactly when you're gonna move again. Sometimes you get to move in time to cut him before he grabs you, and sometimes not. But the zombies, the Redeads that really made me scared were the ones in Wind Waker. Yes. Why? Because they were those lifeless dolls that stood with their heads down and suddenly they gain life. Their eyes glow, looking into your soul, and they made that tearing scream that froze your soul so that they could eat it like ice cream. Yes, it was scary. And the last thing I want to talk about today is... I think some of you have already seen it coming, but it is the temple... It's not a temple actually, it's the well. The well in Ocarina of Time. You have to go through that as Child Link, which again makes you feel more vulnerable. The whole place is scary, almost as scary as the Shadow Temple, but you're facing it as a kid, so the proportion remains. And we have the boss, Dead Hand. Come on! Is that really a kid's game? I don't think so, because you have those hands coming out of the floor and suddenly they grab your head and the boss come out and I'm gonna suck your brain. Oh, it approaches you slowly and I have to get out of this hand. I have to get out of here. And when you didn't, oh man. Yes, it's scary. That thing, that monster is more scary than monsters in horror movies sometimes. And the situation, you're on the bottom of the well. You have been hearing messages from the dead on your journey. Oh, because you want a lens. A special lens who can see the truth. Oh shit, that's scary. But that was my list of things that scared me in games. I may have left some things out of the list, but I'll be talking about those in a future opportunity. So, what are your scary things from games? What has made you afraid in a game? Tell me in the comments below. And what do you think of the things I said? I'll be seeing you very soon.